You probably think owning a home in the United States is not for you. You probably think they're for a select few. Now, this episode of Dare2Own podcast is for you. In this episode, Oladipupo Clement will be sharing with us the possibilities of home ownership in the United States. In this episode, we bring you case studies, real stories, and you will be handheld on how to go about it. My name is Stella, and this episode of Dare to Own promises to be insightful. You do not want to miss it. Some people are still going to listen to all of this up until this point, and they'll still be asking, why should I bother? Is this even for me? Because I think that one of the mindset that some persons have, whether they know it or not, is they just think, oh, some things are just for some select few. It doesn't
Mm.
apply to me. And they really even have this fund, maybe just stashed up there and not even earning anything because I'm not aware of, you know, our financial institution appreciating any financial institution to give interest on dumb accounts.
Mm.
So they are like, why should I do this? Some people need more convincing. So I don't know if you have
Well,
more persuasion for them as to why they need to embrace this
I'm glad you use
opportunity.
the word. I'm glad you use the word persuasion. I don't convince people. If it's not for you, it's not for you. It is not. It's not compulsory. To be honest, it's not. At the risk of not sounding salesy, I don't stress why you should buy. But I'll just share this for the just to answer the question you raised. Um, I know there are individuals who the only institution they trust is the bank, right? And that's the only institution they trust. And so that's the only place they keep money, and that's fine, right? The only challenge is even in the United States, well, just like you have NDIC in Nigeria, you have FDIC in the United States. There's a limit to, so even if you have $30 million in your bank account in the US, the maximum that is insured is $500,000. In Nigeria, it's 500,000 naira that is insured. Even if you have 1 billion in that account, if anything happens to that bank, your money has evaporated. Now, just like in Nigeria, for example, in the United States, inflation is at all-time high. It's across the globe. So if you don't want your funds to be eroded by inflation, we're not talking devaluation now, we're talking inflation, the rising cost of goods and services. What it would cost you to buy groceries 3 years ago, 5 years ago, it's not the same thing it will cost you now. If you spend $300 to go to do grocery shopping 3 years ago, your table, your dining table, your kitchen will be full. Today, with same $300, your table will be scanty. The question is, what has changed? The money has not changed, but what it's capable of buying is reducing by the hour, by the day, by the month. And so, what will give you that edge continually is to ensure that you deploy that fund into veritable, reliable asset classes that gives you consistent cash flow so that all the income, if all the income coming into your life, you work for it, you will work till you die. I mean, a wise man said it so aptly. He said, if you don't find a way to make money while you are asleep, you will work till you die. And that's where I got that from. So I need you to understand that you are not doing this for anybody, but you are doing this for yourself and the people that depend on you. All right. So, and that's why this is so important.
Thank you so much. I do hope that everyone who has some hesitation, some form of, second guessing, this gives you some comfort. And one of the things that I would just also say in order to persuade them to test the waters is how you usually say for every big version of something, there's usually a smaller version. So you
Absolutely.
have this money stashed, a lot of it. So why not just try with $10,000 and see how it works? Nobody is saying bring all of the money.
Do you
being
even
a
know
part of it. Yes,
Do
please.
you even know something else, Ella? As I'm processing it right now, why don't you gather few of your friends together? All of you should come together. At least you know yourselves, and then you people should do on your own. Find people that can help you manage. Set it up like this too, right? If you don't trust what we are saying, at least make sure that you people are making progress together. If you call people friends, but you people can't contribute money together to buy things together, because really this is what this is to us. We are a family. We are it's a private arrangement. It's not a public arrangement. All right. Once we want to go public, we will need to be registered with SEC, and it's important to establish that upfront. This is a private arrangement, so you may be hearing this and you are not a part of our community. It's also part of the criteria. It's part of the things we will need to we need to check, to be sure that, well, this person has the right source of fund, is working, and all of those things. We want to be sure that you are a part of our community, one way or the other, before you'll be vetted. So whether you like it or not. So just as you are concerned about who are these people self, they want to collect my money. We are not interested in your money. We are interested in your person. We are interested in your future. So perhaps we may even be more interested in your future than you are. And I can tell you that for free. And that's why I'm recommending that if nothing at all, make the attempt to register for the next edition of the Achieve Financial Freedom Challenge. It's a 5-day program that will blow your mind. I tell you the truth, it will blow your mind. It will set your path straight as far as it concerns, creating wealth. One of my friends told me that somebody reached out to her that she has $300,000 in her account doing nothing. Now, this our friend works night and day, runs different shifts, has so much money stacked up, but does not have enough wisdom on what to do with the money. I don't know if you're getting my point. And does not even have the time to enjoy the money. Can you imagine? Are you understand what I'm talking about? And then they will not make time available for themselves to show up in a program that will set them on track, put them on track. So I recommend, don't bother buying anything. Just attend that Chief Financial Freedom Challenge. By the time we are done with that 5 day, your head will be correct. And I'm sorry if it comes across as insulting. You will know exactly what to do. Like I always say, true wealth is not really about how much money you have accumulated. It's about knowing what to do to produce it anytime you need it. And that is what we give to you when you attend. There's a whole lot that we do during the Achieve Financial Freedom Challenge. Day one, we focus on we focus on personal transformation, right? Because we recognize that if it must be, it's up to you. You are the most important critical success factor in the journey of your life. Number two, day two, we focus on personal preparation. We recognize that that the way you lay your bed is the way you lie on it. And that's very important. And if you don't set agenda for your money, other people will set agenda for the money on your behalf. Day three, we focus on income generation. We recognize the importance of making money, because if you don't make money, you can't manage or multiply the money you have not yet made. So income generation. And then there's different systems that people have adopted. We look at income, multiple streams of income. We look at income types. We look at, the various systems that can help you automate your income and ensure that you're not at the mercy of systems, human-built or human-based systems or institutions, right? We want to put the power of generating income in your hand, and that's what we deal with on day three. This is what we call the pillar of wealth, and this is what holds everything together. On day four, we focus on asset accumulation. Now, this money you have made, how do you begin to utilize it to create wealth, no matter what level you are? We look at that. And day five, we focus on asset optimization and retention. And that's pretty much how we run this thing. So I recommend you register for that and join the community. You have opportunity also to interact with us, and we will give you a lot more options. And by the way, you don't have to do fractional ownership with us. You can set up yours by yourself and then come together with family and friends, people that you can trust, So, but if you join our own community, you join our family, my goodness, you are in safe hands. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, OC. But then, some people learn in different ways. Some people would have learned, just listening to us. Some people would have learned because of the numbers and relatable examples that you've given. But some persons will learn if you're able to sort of share, like maybe a story or a case study of somebody that you know that, has taken advantage of this. Maybe when the person bought a property was at this amount and now it's this amount, or when the person invested in this amount using the local currency, now there has been appreciation somewhat. Just give us a story. So I think I want you to tell us two stories, a good story and a, I don't want to say a bad story, but a not so great story of somebody who missed out of an opportunity.
Mm. Well, I mean, life in general, people don't learn. Some people don't learn by information like this. They learn by experience. And like my mentor would say, the day you wake up is when your morning starts. So I personally believe that for some people, their morning has not started yet because they have not woken up. But I just pray that they do not wake up when their last child is gaining admission into university. And then they look back and say, oh, I could have done this. I could have. You don't want to look back with regrets. And so, let me just cite this particular example. Real estate generally appreciates every 5 years, the value of real estate in the United States goes up, goes higher, at least doubles in every 5 years. That's the standard in the United States. Every 5 years, the value of real estate doubles. So that's why I said the worst case scenario is that we sell our property. So in 5 years, it doubles. That is that one. And then if you are holding it free and clear, meaning that you don't have any obligation to the bank or to money lenders or whatever, it gives you a lot more peace of mind. I mean, you don't want to, for those who are in Africa, you change Naira to dollars, for example, and then they now tell you you need to pay, and then maybe one tenant did not pay on time, then you need to pay mortgage. And then we now say, okay, everybody has sending money. It will be stressful. By the time, what was dollar against Naira 3 years ago or 5 years ago? What's the dollar against Naira today? What will be dollar against Naira in the next 5 years or in the next 2 years, in the next 1 year? Who can predict? Nobody. So you don't want to be under such a pressure. So what I recommend is plan your future. Don't abdicate the responsibility of planning your financial future to anybody. Let it be your personal responsibility. Don't get it twisted. By the time you are 5 years older, right? I can guarantee you many things that you are hearing now will still confront you then. It's just that it's either you'll greet it with it will be greeted with regrets or greeted with joy. Your choice. It's your choice. It's your call. One of our community members, who actually, we still had a conversation last week, and he told me, he said, see, we are doing this one, but my plan is every 10 months, every batch that we do, he said he's setting aside $1,000 every single month towards the next batch, towards another batch, towards another batch. So every 10 months. So that's his plan. Now, because listen, whether you save and invest or not, the money still will not go around. It still will not be enough, right? You've been wishing that you had enough money to buy this. Now you have an opportunity to say, okay, I may not be able to afford to buy this as a whole, but let me join these people, right? And see where it leads. I always say to people, Stella said it so aptly as well. Every big version also has every big vision has a small version. Every big project has a small version. This is more or less like a small version. Even we, as a company, this is like a small version of a big thing that we are working on. And so we are only testing the waters. When I say testing the water, not that we don't know what we're doing, but that it is the pressure is lower at this level. We're not taking any risk that would jeopardize our reputation, jeopardize our investments, and jeopardize our integrity. So that's what this is. And so if you feel, like I said, also, if you feel that, oh, no, you know how best to do it, then you can assemble your team, You can assemble your family members and you people can come. But by all means, make sure that you are making progress. Make sure that you are moving. Are there people who have made investments and then they look back? The major issue that people often have when it comes to rental properties is tenant management. It is the repairs, periodic repairs. That's the major concern. And all of that is part of what is being handled. So you don't even have to be waking up and be thinking, "Ah," and then, like I said, what's the worst case scenario? You sell the property. You sell the property and then you can't lose. You can't lose. It may just take a little more time, but you can't lose. Yeah.
So we'll see, just try to be, really drill down. There was a time where the market crashed.
Yeah.
Is, is there a probability that that might happen anytime soon? Just as we know that there are always economic cycles. And
Mm.
if this should happen, somebody is worried and saying, how am I protected?
So what led to that economic crisis?
Mm.
When people got or indulged in advanced gambling. And, you know, when I say advanced gambling, so somebody borrowed money to buy a property. Follow my train of thought. They borrowed money to buy a property. Let's say the property was worth, say, $180,000. And after a year or two, the property is now worth $250,000. The person now sells that same property and says, see, um, no, not the person that bought the property. Now, the person that is owed $180,000 now goes to meet somebody else and says, see, that property that I, I, I funded, I financed, is now worth $250,000. Give me, just give me 180 or give me 190 or 200. The property is now worth $50,000. Then they went on. So everybody kept selling, recycling the loan that they gave out to other people. That was what led to the subprime um,
Wow.
money lending and the crisis. That was what led to it. Again, the person that was borrowing money to rent or buy the house borrowed money on the premise that the property, the person he will still retain his or her job. So when the person loses his or her job and is unable to pay rent or pay his mortgage, after a couple of notices, multiple notices, maybe 2 or 3 months notice, the money lender, in this case could be the bank, they are under pressure to foreclose the property. And now they've already gotten a significant, don't forget that the person has been paying. He probably has even been paying for the past 25 years, has been paying for maybe 15 years. But at that point in time, the money lender wouldn't mind selling just to recover as little as whatever they can recover, not minding the state of and that's what led to those particular crises. And that's why we are not towing the path of borrowing money and all of those things. Much of those crises led to distress sales, right? That
Mm.
prompted people to sell at ridiculous amounts because there was no other way out. The only thing they can bank on was anybody who can pay now. I mean, in a city like Detroit, in Michigan, houses were sold for $500, $1,000.
Whoa.
Realize that even property taxes in the US, if you don't pay it, if you don't pay it, the county government will auction your property. They will auction your property. So as simple as those things are, because really that's how the government funds recreational facility, they fund police department, that's how they fund the schools, the primary elementary, the elementary school system, the middle school system, the high school system. That's why it is free. That's what they use to fund it, all those property taxes. So it's an ecosystem. So as people are building houses, owning houses, you pay taxes, all those taxes, property taxes, it's different from income taxes. So all those property taxes, what they use to fund all those expenses. That's why you see good facility around and all of those things. And everything seems to be going well. So my point is, if you are worried about, um, uh, I think those seasons will present unique opportunities that even our investors will be able to latch on even more. Such moments, those moments will come most definitely, right? Most definitely. So, but if you are not under pressure, it is people who are under pressure that were selling at ridiculous rates now. There were people who owned their houses outrightly and wouldn't need to worry about selling their property. They were even buying during those periods, right? So, so that's pretty much what it is.
Beautiful. This is really super, super, super beautiful. Wow. Becoming a homeowner in the diaspora. I do hope that everyone who is listening or who is going to watch this would indeed take advantage of this opportunity to become a homeowner. And you've mentioned a lot about your community, joining your community. And then there's someone who is thinking, okay, I am based in diaspora, I'm African, and I think this is a business I want to start or that I want to join. How can I become trained? Do you offer those sorts of opportunities for Africans in diaspora to say, I think I want to become a realtor. I think I want to start something like this. You mentioned if you're afraid, why not get some of your friends together and see if you can start? And somebody is saying, okay, I think that we can do this. How can they go about this? Are you offering such mentoring opportunity or training that they can leverage?
Okay, I mean, it's very simple. Join my inner circle. I think that's where I probably, because quite a lot of people have been reaching out to say, oh, I want you to mentor me. I want you to be my coach and all of those things. So if you want mentoring, you want hand holding on major decisions in life, especially as it relates to business, relates to real estate, relates to finance, then whether your personal family or business finance, then you have a go-to person here. I recommend you join my inner circle. It's a close knit group where I provide um, uh, mentoring, for the members, and I'm sure you'll find the details. You can reach out to us on +1 +1 470 708 4107. I'll take that again. +1 470 708 4107. Please reach out to us only on WhatsApp, and we'll give you all the details on how you can register to be a part of the inner circle. You will need to apply first. Then, if you're accepted, then we'll give you the registration. That's the process. So you need to apply. If you are accepted, then we would then send you the enrollment form. Right. So that's pretty much what it is. So anything you want to learn, but I typically would recommend you attend Achieve Financial Freedom Challenge. Right. First, I recommend that it's not compulsory. You can just come straight to the inner circle. Right. But I recommend that you register for the next edition of Achieve Financial Freedom Challenge. There's a lot that we deal with in 5 days that there's no way we can cover that in a podcast like this. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, OC. A question just crossed my mind. I know that you're also a very huge proponent of transgenerational wealth, and a lot of
Absolutely.
people have been thinking, I want to build transgenerational wealth. I want to build transgenerational wealth. And then they've listened to this fractional home ownership, but they don't seem to understand how
It
it can
connects.
fit in or how fractional home ownership should be one of their portfolios, should be one of the asset classes or a means to having transgenerational wealth. So I don't know if you really just want to speak to that. And when answering this, I want you to sort of address the different classes of people that will be listening, because I know that we have single people who are unmarried. We have married people who are thinking of how can we do this as a family. So I would like you to, speak to their different needs as you respond to this question on transgenerational wealth.
All right. So transgenerational wealth. as important as it is, you need to focus on your own wealth first. It is wealth that you have created that you can transfer, okay, to the next generation. So, and whatever, the beautiful thing about the fractional ownership is the fact that it can be transferred. You can, you can, you can sign off your interests to your next generation should anything happen, and it's all captured even in the expression of interest form and all other details, even in the terms and the partnership, in the agreements, in the contract that you sign. So, in terms of creating transgenerational wealth, you have to first create the wealth so that you'll be able to transfer that wealth to another generation. And so, whether you are as a single person, you still belong to your immediate family, are your parents, your siblings, and all of that. And so you can decide how you want to do that, right? You may be transferring wealth to your nephews or nieces, right? If you are married, and it could even be to a foundation, it could be to a church, it could be to anywhere, right? It could be to a school. It's up to you. Um, you can say, oh, all this money can go in that direction. The other part is if you're married, there's certainly your immediate family now is your wife. After your wife, your children. After your children, maybe your parents, and after your parents, maybe your siblings, in that particular order. But again, you give those instructions. One of the smart things that people now do is that they warehouse all their investment interests under a trust, you know, whereby the trust is essentially the one responsible for managing all that. But again, like I said, it's until you have created wealth, you don't need trust. What are you? What are you a trust? So, for example, somebody once said that, okay, when should you write a will? You don't write a will because you are about to die. You write a will because the people you care for are going to leave. And it's only somebody who is living that can write a will. And then I don't want to go into the intricacies and the complexities of wills and trust and all of that. But the reality still remains the fact that it is while you are alive that you can be planning and you can set structures in place to manage your legacy. And so, whatever it is, um, you want to first create the wealth, and every means that leads you there, every legitimate means that leads you there, whether through fractional ownership, whether sole ownership, whether investing in capital markets, stock market, whether investing in businesses, buying businesses, all that, you want to make sure that that's what you set up in motion, you set in motion. Once you have significant, interests across board, then you can then leverage that to now begin to say, okay, let me set up a trust, and then all my assets, all my investments will be a warehouse in this trust or whatever. So that's when you should begin to think about, or when you have, because setting up a trust comes at some costs. All right, comes at some at some very significant cost also, right? So you need to have financial muscle to do some of those things, especially if you're in the United States, right? So I know most of these platforms in Africa are equally expensive, but there will be no justification. I mean, if you are worth $2 million, right, and they are charging you maybe $50,000 to establish your legacy, and then you can continue to bundle, you know, more assets in that trust, it won't be a burden. But if you are worth $50,000, if all your assets, heaven and earth, is $50,000 and they're charging you $50,000, would it make sense? There's no justification for that. That's why I said first create wealth, first make a lot of money, and then, but whatever it is that you are entering into, make sure that you put it should be part of the contract that this goes to your beneficiary, and your beneficiary should be listed basically.
So, still speaking to this transgenerational wealth, I was just thinking from my perspective, if I was married right now and I'm sold already, I'm really interested in this, and then my spouse is skeptical, doesn't understand.
Mm.
How easy is it to get their buying?
You're asking a marital question. They have to be
Invested.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a marital question, um, and I think it's important that you have there's an alignment between you and your spouse first before you participate in any investment. Because should anything go south, you look back and wish you never took the step without the buy-in of your spouse. Sometimes people are just paranoid. Uh, some other times that they just lack knowledge, right? They just don't know any better. All they are gifted in is spending, lavish wastes. There are people like that. Money is for spend. As far as they're concerned, money is for spending. What is it? Today we live, tomorrow we die. So why keep anything, right? So that's some people's mentality, and there's very little you can do about such ideology. So if that is the case, in such instance, if it is a case of lack of knowledge, then um, you may want to do, because I mean, I expect that you already have been investing before you got married.
Mm.
So, and you didn't seek that input before you made those decisions. So, but if it is a case of I don't think this is right for us, I think something better is there's something better. There's a better option or better offer or whatever. It's in
Yeah.
such case that you may want to yield to them. I believe a lot in alignment between your spouse, you and your spouse. But if it is a case of ignorance, right? If it's a case of somebody being a spendthrift, they will rather spend that type of money to lavish it on new parties, new clothes, not investment. Then you know that, man, this person. If we continue like this, if both of you continue like this, your end will be in penury. So you want to make adjustments. You want to make those investments on behalf. Sometimes you even do that on your for your children. Sometimes you remove yourself from the equation because it may look as though you are disobeying them. But when it comes out that, oh, I did it for our children, it's
Mm.
also protects it also protects you, and protects the family and the marriage ultimately. But you don't want to continue um, operating without having an investment plan for the family, just as much as you have an investment plan, or just as much as you should have an investment plan for yourself. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, yes, it does. It does a whole lot. It does. So I know that I asked that question from a marital perspective. Now I want to ask from a single perspective, and then it's just something that crossed my mind. So I'm single. I invest a lot, and at this point, I'm about to make a decision about who to marry. In the dating phase, I don't know why this question is coming up. In the
Go ahead.
dating phase, is can we say investment compatibility is also as important as blood group? You know, how we say SS cannot marry. Can we say I like this person, but this person doesn't have, we don't align, we don't vibe on the same investment frequency. And I don't want, so from a female perspective, I don't want it to look like I'm not being submissive. So I just rather not marry this person. Is that too extreme?
Not extreme, because there's no romance without finance. And you don't want to. One of the things that creates pressure, there are top three things that creates pressure in marriage, eventually. And money is one of them, right? And so you want to get the money compatibility right. How we think about money, how we reason about money. We may not necessarily be on the same frequency. We may not be at the same level, but at least one should yield leadership to the other. I have a friend whose wife is a better money manager than himself. And he understands, even though he's the head of the family, knows that, okay, my wife is a better money manager. And so yielded that space to her. I was listening to Dr. Kingsley Okonkwo recently, where himself was talking how that he was a financial wreck even to their family at a point in time. Now, even though they're a perfect match, himself and his wife, a perfect match, and they go around the globe together, and they are making a lot of impact. the man also recognized his weakness and yielded leadership to that. So if you are in a relationship with someone who does not have enough money sense or does not have enough sense to yield leadership, then that's a red flag already, because it's going to be not just a doom or a crisis for him alone, it will also be a crisis for both of you. And I've seen that play out again and again. Some of the high blood pressure that people have is money issue. All this one that they are not sleeping at night is money. It's money issue, right? All this one that's village people are chasing after me is money issue. You'll notice that your smile, you become more radiant when you show that there's some money flowing from where there's something that you can quickly free up somewhere. When the money issue is less of, it's not like you're not looking for more money, but it's that at least the all the major basic things are covered. It gives you some. So the fact that the guy may not have, and I'm saying this to you and anybody that looks like you, it is not extreme if the person is not willing to yield leadership in the area of your expertise. No, it's not the best. It's not the head. The head may not have enough sense when it comes to money matters, may have sense when it comes to leadership, may it comes to other things, but may not be money. So if you are the one, it means that you are better. That's even the reason why the person should marry you, because he has a deficiency in that area. Do you get the point I'm making? So we don't necessarily have to um, be on the same frequency, but one must be willing to. It's easier when it is a man, because it's an African thing that people feel that man, but it's not all men that can manage money. It's not all men that can make money. It's not all men that know where to invest. And sometimes the person who knows how to apply the money may not be the one who is even making the money, right? So in either of those cases, let the person who has money sense in the family take responsibility for the financial future of the home. So the fact that I can make money does not necessarily mean I can manage and multiply the money. It can be a wreck to the family if care is not taken. So it's something that must be considered during the choice of who to marry. Most certainly, it's very, very important. It's too important to ignore. Just like you mentioned, blood group. Money is the lifeblood of that relationship. You realize that there's nothing else that will answer to school fees, nothing else that will answer to rents or bills. My mother-in-law used to pray a prayer for me when we newly got married. So where your mates are, are spending money, may you not spend stories. So some meetings are unnecessarily long because it's a money issue. Some family meetings are unnecessary. It's money issue. In fact, some of the rancor you find, some of the strife you find among family members, even between husband and wife, most times, is a money issue, right? So there should be some agreements on how do we want to run our finance in our home. Who will take leadership for this aspect of the critical aspects of our home? What are we going to accept? So those are dating conversations. Those are courtship conversations to say, how do we make money in this home? There has to be an internally generated revenue for this home. When you bring money, I make money. So what type of account do we need to open? Dr. Olumide Emmanuel has shared with us the 4 types of accounts everybody, every family should have. And what I recommend is find the one that works for your family and stick to it. Right. Number one, he mentioned expense accounts. He mentioned investment accounts. Then, of course, personal accounts. Right. So those personal accounts are 2: one for yourself, one for your spouse. So the expense account is where we run the everyday to day operations of the home. The investment account is where we plan our future. And I love the way Dr. Emmanuel said it. Dr. Lumide Emmanuel. He said, by the time you people have built up $3 million, $5 million worth of investments together, you will think twice before you consider divorce. You think twice before you say, "Oh, we want to go our separate ways." You will think twice because you have joint stake in the marriage. So that's the investment, the expense account. So those joint accounts, is of the opinion, actually, which I buy into, that it doesn't have to be joint accounts. You don't necessarily have to own joint accounts, but there has to be joint knowledge. There has to be joint accountability. And I think that's what is critical They are very essential things to consider in the relationship. You know, I don't know if I answered the question. And then, of course, the personal account takes care of your own. You want to surprise your spouse. You don't need to take permission before you make those decisions, right? So, and anything that deprives you of your individuality is a cage, is a trap. And so that's why the personal accounts are so very essential, right? And then you also want to give yourself a treat from time to time. You don't need permission to do that, should you? So that's also part of the reason. So I personally think that I subscribe more to it. There are families where joint account works so perfectly. I have a friend himself and his wife makes more. In fact, his wife is the one that is like the breadwinner of the home, but he's the one that is money manager of the home, right? And that is what is working for them. So find what really works for your family and then, stick with it. You will try things that will not work, even as a couple, right? Even the person with a better money sense may make decisions in the course of the journey of the marriage that can plunge them into, but nobody should blame each other. We should learn from it and say, okay, what next are we going to do next time? That's, that should be it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It perfectly does. And interesting segue. But so coming back to our conversation, I know some people will be seeing the title and they'll be wondering fractional home ownership in the US. And I just remember that we haven't even spoken about why the US. Why did you choose the United States of America? Why not anywhere else in the world?
Yeah, it can work anywhere else in the world, but we are talking about the US because that's where we operate. We operate both in Nigeria and in the United States. Our company operates in Nigeria and in the United States, and we're already doing a lot, even in development in Nigeria. But and we've provided similar opportunities, not necessarily in terms of fractional ownership. People have bought houses from us, people have bought landed properties from us in Nigeria. But we've seen the fact that a lot of people who are already making money in Naira are also looking for alternative income sources, especially in USD. And that's why the emphasis is on the United States. Besides, if you're looking for a stable economy, you're looking for, um, I mean, if your children are going to study in the US in the future, it's time to start building something up that can fund that education, right? And even if you reside in the United States, you don't want your children to be accessing student loans. One of the biggest financial burdens for most young adults in America today is student loans. Is huge, and it's almost like a lifetime burden that they carry. They carry through their life and they carry it into marriage. So by the time two people are starting life together, they are starting from negative. No matter how much they earn, they are starting from negative. So it's not a place you really want to be. And then, so if you have your children are still way younger, you don't have children yet, then you want to start planning for that way ahead. That can even be a motivation, right? That can be a motivation. If you plan that one day you don't want to continue to work for money, you don't want to continue all these 9 to 5 days is stressful. You want something that money can continue to flow to you, whether or not you work. Then you also want to consider, you know, um, um, investing, in fractional home ownership in the United States. Yeah, but essentially it can be done anywhere. Yeah. But like I said, this is where we have a team. This is where we have people. This is where we have the structures. And that's why we are embracing and adopting it in this manner.